Quest for the Moon and Dangly by Noni-mouse. This is a lovely fantasy bedtime story, which is copyright and self-published. If I get enough likes, it'll go to a publisher and be distributed, but I have a few copies to spare if anyone likes it. If you hear the sound of the birds, please just relax to them, let them relax you. And you'll find a relaxing, sleepy meditation, relaxing toes all the way up to the head, neck, shoulders, back, spine. In my list of videos, which if you click on the little icon at the bottom with the sunset on it, you'll find. And if you would like to subscribe, you're welcome, and you'll get lots of new things. And feel free to put the meditation into a playlist and then this story afterwards if you'd like the meditation to precede the story. Chapter 1. The Wangdoogly snuffed his way along ancient, ancestral, moon-livened paths. His round tummy goggled as he moved, puff paws padding the soft dough-like ground that many a Wangdoogly has snorkeled before him. Occasional swafts of sheena grass tickle the base of his tummy and bottom as Wangdoogly passes over it. Sheena grass takes a small amount of oil from his skin to help strengthen her eggs. After a few more nights, the eggs will drop to the soft ground to uncurl in the next gentle burst of rain. Soft smiling silvered moon sheams over his rumpelskin back. Tree and forest bush shadows appear to stroke over him also, as he waggles along his way through the forest. Wangdoogly has travelled many nights, as Wangdooglys do. They do not consider why, as they never question the now. They just go where seems right. Loneliness. Loneliness is usually an unknown feeling to his kind. When it usually meets a Wangdoogly, it is ignored, gets bored, and goes away to bother another creature, or lurk in the depths of caves for days, until it is absorbed by rock and peacefully transformed into rock ominence, or swished up gently by a breeze, which softens loneliness's heaviness, uncurling it before masterfully re-spiraling it into nothing, for softness of air to take its place. Sometimes a cheeky splash of water may catch loneliness up in its lap of laughter, whooshing it into lushness and fresh sparklement. Our Wangdoogly knows loneliness well. Aloneness stares him in the face, and has done since being a small rolling tumbler of snorkness. In quiet moments, loneliness creeps around him with its mask of chilled night, dripping ice heaviness into his belly. This happens usually just before dawn sunrise, when the light in the forest sky is once again a light blue in colour. Trees are still. Leaf drops silently to ground. All is listening. The time when all awake forest creatures, from flyers and flitters, swagglers and glitterers, still themselves and listen for the breath of the dawn breeze. Then she comes, our breeze, dancing the vines and leaves, with her cool fresh strokes of pureness and promise. She strokes all the faces of all the creatures awake to meet her, whispering richness into them, a richness of other worlds close by, close enough to almost touch, igniting once again in their bellies the fresh, cool flame of life. For she is Ceridwen's wind, Ceridwen, queen of all worlds and passages to them. And always when she strokes our Wangdoogly, loneliness's mask is ripped away and replaced by the richness of her promise. Wangdoogly chuckles in little snorks and gloggles along his merry way, feeling once again the beauty of the world around him and within. Up ahead, high in the trees, Woolawoo hangs from an anja vine, willowing in the windy Wooja forest. This Woola feels alone and lost also. She, like our Wangdoogly, has left her valley, and again, like him, she is searching for something. The something has whispered to her not only through her sleep dreams, but through the dreams of the forest, in the circling of birds and flight of insects. She has heard this calling for her to leave her village and find something, in the whispers of the tree spirits, telling her also that there is somewhere to go. Woolawoo has been trained to spot these signs. Another possible sign for her to leave was the pointing finger of her grandfather, the Woola shaman of the village, of the valley, telling her to go, the mischievous twinkle in his eye also telling her that if she doesn't, there will be trouble. A maiden moon, adding her beauty to the night, looked soulfully at Woolawoo, who now sat high up in a thin flutter-leaf ella tree, gently swaying her in the breeze. The gentle sway would have normally cradled her into comfort, but she was lost in sad feelings. Woolawoo now felt only deep aloneness in a vast, stretching forest. She is a long way from her part of the forest, and does not know why. She knows that there is a something to find, but now she does not like this something, even though they have not yet met. It was then she heard the swag snorks snuffles pattering past below her tree. She looked down at them and caught sight of a goggling patterer of Wangdoogleness. Knowing's light rose up inside her body and up to her face. It was him. He was her something. And her something was pootling away from her up the forest path, snuffling questions of not knowing where he was goingness into the night. "Where ye be going?" replied Woolawoo to Wangdoogly's snuff. Wangdooglys are slow, lazy creatures, but they can move fast. He whirled around to face her and requested, "To where?" "Where?" replied Woolawoo. "Ooh," stopped Wangdoogly. Woolawoo jumped in the air. "We shall," she stated, and together they went. Their shallness was not at first a sumptuous dance into unknowingness. Instead, a respectful and happily quiet journeying together, with a mutual gap of shyness, through which they could eye each other's splendour. For now they were together, splendour they were. They left the ancestral path that Wangdoogly had been following, and journeyed into the darker forest, where the moon's smiling light shoomed the tree stems and trunks, into a silent here-ness, there-ness, giving the trees an impression of watchfulness. Moon's light gush-flopped leaves out of the night, blooming them into silvery life, as Woollawoo and Wangdoogly walked all around them. Criss-cross shadows swayed on the ground in silent harmony, like shadow puppets in a play. And ahead they webbed their way into deep forest, into the dark unknown. However, Woollawoo was happier that their footsteps were flowing this way, for now aloneness had been shushed away. She was clear again and could feel, and she felt that this way was possibly the direction that would lead towards her home. They began moving faster, and after a short while they patterscooned around a large bush and into an ooming presence. They both stopped suddenly. Looming up in front of them was a large, plump shape. Both travellers snuffed and sensed it in silence. Heavy and old and wet it felt. Wide and high and dark it was, and ooming in silent majesty. The two travellers, silent and still, watched. It did not move. Its ombus oom told them that it did not have a habit of moving. Soon they felt a little safer and slowly approached it. Not all rocks are friendly, which is what the ombus oom turned out to be, a large old grandfather rock. Seasons happened fast to a rock, like the shadows of clouds that we may see moving across the land. His only interest was the rich colours of the changing forest around him, as the seasons wheeled past, waves of time rolling through him, aging him into eternity's deep, rich arms, adding feelings of majesty to his oom. The wheeling seasons echoing around his oom, shammers of eternity's original potent darkness, a darkness empty, yet full. The rich platform for experience and of wisdom. Woollawoo thought about his powerful oom. It was a place that she learnt to tap into and find needed silence, where the rock would return to her world and her time. And then, if she needed to find insight and understanding, she could gain it from this grandfather or others, as long as she allowed life to flow into her and mingle with the rich darkness also. She was safe within herself. The grandfather rock himself, she felt, was a safe rock. Most are, but some are not. And she made her presence known to him. She could gain views of history also, if need be, from rocks, and answer most questions that she asked. Wooloo looked up at the rock, and up, and she looked at Wangdoogly. He was staring up towards the top of the rock also. Then he looked to his left and pootled off around the rock and out of sight. A moment later, way up high above her, he reappeared at the top of Grandfather. Wangdoogly stared down at her with wide, round, droop eyes. Then his slow, big grin told her to come on. Wooloo raced to the top of the highest tree beside the plump old grandfather, then leaped and scratched her way up to Wangdoogly. Out of the forest now they were, open sky, sitting in silent splendor together. They looked into that deep, endless royal blue of the night, their gaze falling into the richness of its depths, softer and deeper than any sea, where one's eye is pulled back to gaze in amazement at the twinklement of endless stars, chimes in emptiness, echoing endlessness's song into the night. It made our companions feel alone, and yet together, peaceful, making the stars less an Ushi wonderment above their lone-trod steps, and more like companions also. Ushi means awe-inspiring, the stars less an Ushi wonderment. Chapter 2. Many moons did they travel together, Wooloo sometimes swinging from branch to branch, or leaping from tree to tree, and sometimes walking behind the snuff-hoggle swags of Wangdoogly, happy and pondering the mystery of their togetherness. They travelled by half-day and by night, Wangdoogly's being more suited to night times, for they allow the scents that arise in the warm, rich forests of the night. His mother used to say, "Grandfather Moon is pulling out the scents of her night garden, each scent of each flower and mushroom. For flowers she cannot see, but dream them she can, in her mind. She smells them, she does, and then she see the way things are. We also, we see them like she, in their smell, more clearly and beautifully than any other creatures, for we smell their scents, their healing and their song, and follow them with our snouts. We never lost, always food, always shelter." Much of their wanderings together was spent in silence, other than Wooloo occasional preets of Woola pleasure, or songs, the high notes bringing big-toothed grins from Wangdoogly. Within their silence were looks to one another, looks of reassurement, measurement, pleasure, or confirmation about the beauty of certain flowers, beautiful shadows, or light in sun or moonlit glades. Woolas often sleep in tree beds that they make from soft palif leaves, or such like, but our Wooloo liked the ground. Each night, late night, when Wooloo was asleep, Wangdoogly would find secret pleasure in Wooloo's night purrs. They whirred up inside his body until a rich sleep sopped him up. And each night her purring would get closer and closer as she moved closer and closer to him, until at last they lay together, snuggled and warm. Wooloo with her face often snuggled under Wangdoogly's soft fleshiness of armpit. Some mornings the sweet oogle smell, lulling her back into a deep, comfortable sleep. Now they were closer. Wooloo would sometimes playfully jump on Wangdoogly, and they would wrestle, rolling over and over, or Wangdoogly would go lollop up low trees and snap at Wooloo, knowing that Wooloo, being a Woola, would always be able to jump out of the way just in time. They journeyed together by half night and half day, as though they had never been apart, flowing together like a little river meeting another little river, bigger and stronger for being together. Neither of them knowing why they continued to stay together, or whether there were better things to do. Like most of the creatures in this world, they had no need to question the flow of things and nowness. So not for long did they ever drift apart from each other, before they found themselves pulled back together again, pulled back home. Sleeping deeply, silently below the woody roots of lum trees they are found. Ground mushrooms. Wangdoogly could feel their call in his tummy, even before catching their night scent, with a low-sounding moom of a snore that grows louder as he digs down to them. They are a rich, deep purple when asleep. Wangdoogly showed Wooloo how to wake them up by putting them out into the moonlight on a rock and singing an ancient song to call the full eyes of the moon to them. He showed Wooloo how the eyes of the moon flowed through the singer, weaving the moon's touch within the song and to the mushroom. First, the old song starts in Wangdoogly's memory, and without him trying, it flows out of him to the mushroom, flowing now down from the sky, and to the moon. Low notes agreeing with the mushroom's moom snore, then rising slowly, if it's a young mushroom, up higher and higher to sweet notes of the sky. The mushroom awakes, touched by the moon's song, and sour smells are released. Slowly as the song and moon dances through the flesh, the scent begins to smell sweeter and sweeter. The mushroom, when it is ready to be eaten, turns a rich red. Now, happy to be eaten, our mushrooms have slept long below the earth, knowing only now that they have slept for this moment, and once they are eaten, their song will travel with Wangdoogly under the moon's caress, dancing within him. Later he pees out the little eggs we know as spores to another lum tree's roots. Wangdooglies hold on to their wee until they meet another lum tree, and its roots will be a home for little mushrooms once again, as they are growing. When he pees them out, our little mushroom's song becomes a silent whisper through the nighttime trees, joining with the night songs of the forests. When digging for mushrooms, Wooloo had giggled with joy at seeing Wangdoogly down his digging hole, digging deeply, bottom waggling in the air, floppy paws carefully scraping the earth out from underneath him. But she could also feel the surprise of the tree, and the shock at having a fat goggling creature digging away between her roots. So, in exchange, Wooloo showed Oogly as she liked to call him now, how to first connect with the tree, gently touching the trunk with both hands and telling her that they needed her ground mushrooms. Wangdoogly watched Woolawoo touch the tree and could feel the tree calming, as well as other trees around it. She told him that first you give joy and love with the right paw, then receive love from the tree to your heart with the left paw, to make a hello circuit. Then she showed him how it can be done with fruit trees, asking the tree to drop its gift. She showed him how trees were happy to give, and especially fruit trees that were fruit that was ready to fall. And when it wasn't, but the tree wished to give, you held the fruit gently, and slowly, slowly it would come off in your hand. When he saw this, he danced and danced in happy, leapy circles, snorking to the sky and the trees, overwhelmed with excitement. Wangdoogalies are not great climbers, but they love their food, just like a leaf loves to dance in the autumn breeze. That is the end of chapter 2. There is more to the book, which you can find by requesting underneath, and I'll put more on. Sweet dreams. Oh, it does get a little scary, by the way. That's why I'm not putting it on this video. But it gets quite scary.